Hey Bio 20, we're carrying on with some more photosynthesis lessons. So make sure you've got your photosynthesis notes guide in front of you. You've got a pencil, you're following along. And this is our fourth video in the series. And we've talked about the overall equation, the light dependent versus the light independent reactions. Talked a lot about the pigments like chlorophyll. And we have gone through and talked about the photosystems as part of the light dependent reactions. Now I gotta be honest, I don't love this diagram, but it does show you the reaction centers, these little chlorophyll molecules, and when the photons of light hit them, they are going to be stimulated and then an electron will be raised up to a higher energy level. But I kind of like this next diagram a little bit better because it actually shows you what the kind of the context of it, like where the things are located. So remember, this is a plant, we're in a leaf, this is a plant cell, and we're talking about the thylakoids, okay? So the business end of the light dependent reactions is this thylakoid membrane. So this is where the photosystems are located. So we talked about there's photosystem 2, and light stimulates it, an electron gets raised up to a higher energy level, and then here's photosystem 1, photon of light hits it, and electron gets raised up to the higher energy level. Where are these electrons coming from, you asked? Well, right in here. This is that last diagram, all those little circly things. Those are the chlorophyll molecules, and within them are electrons. And again, when those electrons get excited, they're then passed through in the membrane. There are a series of electron transporters, and that's why we call this an electron transport chain, ETC, ETS. Okay, so again, it is sunlight. These are light dependent, strikes the photosystem, an electron gets raised to a higher energy level. It's passed through these transporters, the electron transport chain. It is replaced by the splitting of water. And then another photon of light is going to hit another chlorophyll molecule, a reaction center, this time photosystem 1. It gets raised to a higher energy level, and the final electron acceptor, NADP+, gets reduced to NADPH. So here we call this reducing power because it's gained a high energy electron, this NADPH. Remember, the P is for this is happening in photosynthesis. Now this little NADPH goes off to the stroma and is going to be used in the light independent reactions, aka Kelvin cycle. So we talked about replacing electrons. Water splits, it replaces the electron that was lost from photosystem 2. The electron from photosystem 2 replaces the electron in photosystem 1. And one thing we also talked about was when the water got oxidized, made oxygen, and oxygen is that first product of photosynthesis, but it also produced hydrogen ions. In fact, each time the electrons are transferred through the electron transport chain, hydrogen ions get pumped into this space in the thylakoid. And so as we get more and more hydrogen ions or protons, right, because it's a hydrogen atom minus an electron, it's a proton. As these hydrogen ions start building up, we get a concentration gradient. And so inside the thylakoid space is a high concentration of these hydrogen ions, these protons. Outside of the membrane, out here in the stroma, there is a low concentration of hydrogen ions. So guys, which way do molecules like to move? I want you to think back to what happens in diffusion. Well, molecules are going to move from a high concentration to a low concentration. But here's the problem. Here's all these hydrogen ions, and they try to move through this thylakoid membrane, and oh, denied. They can't move through. They're not permeable. The membrane doesn't allow them through. So all these hydrogen ions have really high amounts, like potential energy, and they want to get out from here. And so fortunately, there is a protein in the membrane, in the thylakoid membrane, called the ATP synthase. And the hydrogen ions can flow through here down the concentration gradient from high to low concentration. And as this happens, the ADP molecule, adenosine diphosphate, joins with a phosphorus molecule to make ATP energy. Okay, so hydrogen ions moving through this ATP synthase is going from a high to a low concentration, and boom, ADP makes ATP, that high energy molecule. So guys, we have made two high energy molecules, NADPH and ATP, and both of these high energy molecules can now go to the light independent reactions and power the Calvin cycle in the stroma. So this second part of our light dependent reactions, the making ATP part, is called chemiosmosis. Think of it, chemi, because it's for chemicals. And osmosis is the movement of water from a high to a low concentration. But that's not what's moving here. Instead, we have hydrogen ions inside the thylakoid, high concentration, and outside in the stroma, low concentration, and so they move through the ATP synthase molecule, and boom, that makes some ATP energy. So this chemiosmosis is the production of ATP that is linked to the movement of hydrogen ions through the ATP synthase molecule. Okay, so we've done light dependent, and now we've talked about chemiosmosis. And so a reminder at where we're at now, what products have we made so far? Well, we made oxygen, and that's just gonna skedaddle. It's gonna go through a stomata, out the leaf, out to the environment. So that's a major product. And then we have two products made by the light dependent reactions, the high energy NADPH molecule, the reducing power from the transferring of the electrons through the photosystems, and we have the energy molecule ATP, and these guys are going to be super important for our next stage, and that's the light dependent reaction. Sorry, wrong, my bad. That is important for the Calvin cycle, the light independent reactions happening in the stroma. That'll be our next video.